too. All right, I think we're good to go.
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Special Magistrate Stephen D. LaRoche for Code Enforcement for the City of Daytona Beach Shores, and these are the code enforcement hearings. The way the hearing is conducted, we only have one case on the docket. I realize that, and I know both of you have been here quite a few times before, but I do have to explain it. The city has the burden of proof. They go first. At the conclusion of what the city has to say, you have the ability to cross-examine the city, that is to ask them questions. The city may put on additional witnesses. Again, you can ask questions of any of the city's witnesses. Then it's your turn. You can tell me whatever you'd like. You can call witnesses on your behalf. You can ask me to look at documents or exhibits, photographs, whatever, and then I'll make a decision. If at any time you do not understand what the next procedural step is, just raise your hand and I'll be happy to tell you your options. I can't tell you what to do, but it's a little bit like a waiter reading the menu. You have choices, I can't make the choice for you, okay? First order of business, of course, is always to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any good reason why not to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Okay. Seeing no one complaining, the minutes are approved. We only have one case on the docket this morning, that is PCDEF 2022-61. The property owner is Beachside Coastal LLC. Ms. Herstein? And at the last meeting, council gave me this folder.
Yes, sir.
And I read through it, and then the city provided me everything that was in the folder again, and I reread it to make sure it was the exact same thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to ask that each of the documents provided by the city in the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate's notebook for this case be accepted as evidence, along with the slides in the PowerPoint, whether shown or not. And they
Okay.
have been provided to His Honor and also to the respondent's rep.
They were accepted into evidence last time, so as far as I'm concerned, they're in evidence.
There are some additional submissions.
Okay.
An up-to-date affidavit of costs, for example. The case log was forwarded just a little bit to include what happened at the last meeting, so there are a few changes.
Okay. Ms. Zinn, did you have an opportunity to review the packet from the
Yes,
city?
sir, and I have no objection.
Okay, then it's received into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I will definitely proceed with the case. I don't know if you want to take this opportunity to swear me in.
Do what?
To swear me in.
Oh, yes. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Now, I don't mean to cut your case short, but this is, I believe, the third or fourth time we've looked at this, so I'm very, very familiar with the facts, the pictures, and everything else. But for the record, please proceed. But you don't have to give me the entire story again.
Okay, all right. I will try to bullet it even further than it was bulleted. This is a second compliance hearing, faced with 3 violations that began just before Hurricane Ian, September 2022. Property is currently compliant as to these violations. And this hearing is for consideration if a reduction or rescission of fine is warranted. Final compliance for all violations in the case was achieved on October 29th, 2023. Copies of all permit records obtained can be seen starting on 4/8/27. An affidavit of and the affidavit of compliance starts on page 4A31. And as Your Honor is aware, this could have been heard in January. I pulled it from the case because I wasn't certain. I had heard confirmation that the respondent would be present, and he ended up being ill and had reached out, but it went to my trash file. So it worked out that we pulled it. And then last month, submissions exceeding 3 pages were made immediately before the hearing. So the second compliance was continued to today's meeting. This property and what you'd be considering today is 22 plus 218 days of non-compliance, which resulted in $60,000 even in fines. Administrative fees for the initial hearing and the first compliance hearing have been paid. The $128.03 for the continuance of last month's meeting are not yet due.
Okay.
Today, we're asking for an additional fee of $79.69, and there's an affidavit supporting these costs on page 4A53. You said you were familiar.
Yes.
The 3 violations, A, B, and C, you've seen the pictures of before, and we're requesting either an order number 12 or an order number 13, as shown above, at his Honor's discretion, and I will be available to answer any questions.
I have some questions for you before you leave.
Okay.
Ms. Zinn, of course, you have the right to ask questions before I do. Do you have any questions for
I
Ms.?
don't have any questions at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I've had a chance to read what the property owner submitted to me, and a lot of it has to do with weather-related rain delays and such. And the violations, the first one is the plumbing between the buildings. And I can understand how if you're trying to dig a hole and Mother Nature keeps filling it with water, that is inconvenient. The other 2 violations have to do with interior problems. Would, in your opinion, rain necessarily interfere with the interior problems? Or that's the first question I have.
Not in my experience, Your Honor. Hopefully the respondent and respondent's counsel can elaborate as to how that affected this particular case's rectification.
Okay. And then the order in which things occurred, is this a case where all of the interior problems were solved and the exterior problems were holding up the completion of the project?
No, Your Honor, that is not my recollection of the events as they occurred.
Okay. All right. Ms. Zinn, do you have any questions of Ms. Herstein based on mine?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Zinn, whatever you'd like to present.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. I know you're extremely familiar with this case and the facts and circumstances, so I'll keep my recitation of the facts extremely brief for
Okay.
the benefit.
But you heard the questions that I asked the representative of the city.
I do, Your Honor, and I intend to address them fully.
Okay, that's what I'd like answered, please.
Yes, Your Honor. So I'll start by answering your questions so we can jump ahead if you don't need any additional information.
Okay.
So to answer your questions with regards to the interior issues, Your Honor, these were residential lease properties, and as Your Honor is aware, there are landlord-tenant laws that we absolutely have to follow in order to allow the entry on the premises, as well as eviction if necessary as a result of a code incompliance on our part. So that's what caused the significant delays with respect to the interior.
Okay.
Drywall needed to be removed. A lot of the tenants, of course, had to vacate the premises as a result, some of them various allergies and what have you, but you know, having your drywall removed in the middle of your apartment is never a benefit to the tenant. So we, of course, had to either assist them in seeking other housing arrangements or, ultimately possibly evict them as a result of the damages to the premises. So that's the cause for the significant delay inside of the premises. But I'd also like to bring to Your Honor's attention that the plumber that was located underwent back surgery.
Right, I saw that.
That was an extensive process that ultimately required significant therapies and treatments afterwards. My client was provided a list of plumbers from the city, and that was very helpful, other than the fact that none of the plumbers considered it a job that they would touch. Between the fact that there was a significant exterior damage, coupled with the interior damage, and coupled with the fact that we didn't know how quickly we could get the tenants out, That caused most of the plumbers, if not all of the plumbers on the list, to say, thanks anyways, but I don't want to tie my guys up for the next however many months this is going to take. As a result, my client did find Mr. Grimaldi, who ultimately underwent back surgery. I don't want to say unexpectedly, but my client was unaware that it was a surgery that would have to happen in the middle of the project. So again, with the significant delays from the fact that it was residential premises, the back surgery, and then the weather delays, which, as you correctly pointed out, did keep filling in around the pipes, which is not a safe situation to continue to work on the pipes with the flooding.
Okay.
Speak?
I'm not controlling your presentation.
The one question about the.
I will call my witness, Your
Attorney
Honor.
again.
I will call my witness, and I would ask that Your Honor.
Mr. Brexel, nice to see you again. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and if anybody is wondering, I do not swear attorneys in when they were sworn into the bar. They took an oath of honesty toward a tribunal, and I firmly believe that that has stuck. So there's no reason to renew it.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm just going to help you with the weather issue. So they did have to go from the inside to the outside to turn the water on and off while they were doing the job. So even though they were working inside a bathroom and it was raining, Joe was on a cane and didn't want to be with the guy. So if it rained, he didn't want to come in at all because he didn't want to have to walk, shut the water off, go back, work on what he was working on, go back and shut the water back on. Because there were still 2 tenants that stayed in the building. Their units didn't need to be torn apart, but they did need their water turned back on and off. So
Okay.
that's why when you ask about the weather, were they working in a bathroom? Yeah, they were, but they did have to go outside to turn water on and off.
I see. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Victor?
No.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
And then with respect, Your Honor, to the additional days, we would ask that Your Honor consider abatement or rescission of the fines for 30 additional days as a result of the fact that there was no March code hearing.
I don't understand that one.
So my
I was
client,
here last month.
Last year.
last year,
Oh.
there was a 30-day period where my client could have presented that he had come into compliance, I believe.
Not compliance, what I would have, I'm sorry. Can I speak?
Yeah.
Would you please speak closer to, pull the microphone closer to you, please?
Right.
If there were a meeting in March of 2023, I would have asked for additional time because 30 days that you gave us, they weren't enough to complete the job. It was almost 2 months worth of work. So when you had announced in January, the fines are going to start in February, and then they're going to restart again in March. So when we got our permit, I would have come in March's meeting and said, hey, we can't get it done in this period of time. There's just no way for that many days to be squeezing into that short period. So we were just asking for an additional 30 days based on the fact that there was no March meeting to ask for more days.
Okay, I understand
Thank
what
you.
you're saying. Do you remember there not being a March meeting last year?
I have a couple questions which hopefully will clarify that issue.
Okay. Ms. Zinn, before you sit down.
Yes.
I believe well, I added all your days. I think it's 195 is what you're asking for.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that the correct number?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I added them in my head, and then my wife called in the middle, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose something. Okay. What do you want to do with this?
Is that the,
You want it in evidence?
yes, Your Honor, please, if that's the copies of the.
Yes.
Okay, yes, Your Honor, if you.
Okay.
That's evidence,
All right. So, well, it was included in my packet, and I believe that Ms. Herstein asking that everything in the packet be considered into evidence. It is your documentation, and as you well know, the rules of evidence,
Yes.
it's your responsibility to put it in. So unless Ms. Herstein has an objection, I'll put it into evidence so that it becomes part of the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay? All right. So I'm going to accept what's in here as true and correct for the moment. I have all the weather patterns, which I looked through. I'm very impressed that you guys took the time to go back and find every single day. So 195 is the ask. Okay. Anything additional? I'll get right to you.
No, Your Honor, thank you. I believe Ms. Herstein has some.
Has questions for you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I actually have questions for Attorney Zinn, please.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Attorney Zinn, are you aware that the list of plumbers which was obtained from the city is a list of plumbers who have successfully pulled permits in the past as opposed to a list of recommendations.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And with regard to not having a March hearing, are you aware, has your client made you aware that the city's process is stated in the findings of fact, for example, that there is not an opportunity through our process to, in the middle of an order, to request more time? It is at this exact hearing that one would look backward and say, I needed more time than you gave, for example, or these were the obstacles that that presented themselves to us.
I'm aware of that, which is the cause for the testimony today.
Right, okay, but there would not have been, I just wanted to clarify for the record, if you don't mind, that there would not have been an opportunity at that March hearing, if held or not, to request an extension of time.
Understood. He would have had the opportunity, though, to present that he had pulled the permit and that he was prepared to move forward. He simply needed additional time. So I understand that while he may not have been granted additional time at that hearing, he would have at least been able to show good faith effort in obtaining the permit and proceeding forward.
Absolutely, and was that reflected, as far as you've seen, in the record with the case log as to when the permits were obtained, et cetera?
Yes, absolutely. I was just pointing it out for his honor's benefit.
Thank you very much. I have nothing further.
Okay, anything additional?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
City have a position on this?
Your Honor, thank you for asking for the city's position. It is generally not the city's position to weigh in about reduction requests. It is our position to correct the record if anything is needing to be clarified. Apart from that, it is his honor's purview to accept the evidence as whole and compelling, or to make decisions
Okay. Well,
beyond that.
I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to ask for a minute because, and then I'll explain why I did this. Okay, I've heard all of the testimony and evidence. My position is that I really prefer not to have to levy fines. It's my job, but I certainly understand when you have a small business, adding a fine from the government certainly does not help your bottom line. Also, however, it is my function to try to uphold, not try, but to uphold the City of Daytona Beach Shores code. Like I said, I'm very familiar with this one. It's one of the few that people have actually come here to watch. I had the tenants come in initially for the first hearing. Looking at the requested mitigation, I have granted you your weather delays. I have not granted you the problems associated with the plumber, because that's the person you chose to hire. I also granted you any delays that you stated the city did not come out and inspect immediately. And I think that, you know, it's impossible to expect the city to be there the moment you want them, but out of fairness, while you're waiting for them and accruing fines, that's not your fault. So what I've done is I have, of the 240 days that you were out of compliance, I've removed 40 days, which is the equivalent of $10,000. So I'm upholding the fine of $50,000 for failure to comply. I know it's not what you wanted, but that's the way I see it.
Understood, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. All right. So that would be in order 13, correct, Ms. Herstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes.
All right.
May I ask, will you be imposing the additionally requested?
Oh, yes, and
items, or-
the previously assessed costs, when they come due, I imagine they come due in a couple of days, and the new cost of $79.69, and can that be paid within 30 days? Okay. You have the right to appeal this decision to the City Council if you so choose.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And you can stay till the end or leave. It's up to you. You're not going to hurt my feelings. There's very little left to do. Okay. Any further business, Ms. Herstein?
Your Honor, other than dates for the upcoming meetings.
Right. The next code enforcement meetings will be May 16th at 9 a.m., June 20th at 9 a.m., and July 18th at...
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Before you go, I just wanted to correct that an appeal would actually be to the circuit court.
Oh.
An additional reduction could be requested through the city commission ones, but appeal would be through the circuit court.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Sorry, I misspoke.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, just trying to
No,
make
that's
sure
okay.
that
Thank you.
it's on the record.
Okay, and July 18th is the last one that we have scheduled out that far, but I imagine we'll be here in August as well. All right, thank you.